You're in field goal range in a tie game. Means you kick the field goal, takes 4 or 5 seconds, Green Bay's going to get the ball back. And Dan Campbell said, screw that. I don't want him to get the ball back. I'm going for it. And he went for it after some, he let the clock tick down to 43 seconds. They called the timeout, and they put the offense back on the field. So you can't call back-to-back timeouts. You could take a delay of game. But it's the first time I've ever seen a coach do this. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. It's the first time I've ever seen a coach pass on a go-ahead field goal late in the game to say, I'm running more clock. I am backing them into the clock corner where they can't get the ball back. It's the first time I've seen it. So I've said this about Dan Campbell for a while. I don't think you can judge his aggressiveness on fourth down without zooming out and looking at the big picture. And I think the big picture is he has changed the DNA of this organization. I think his fourth down risks and his fourth down decision-making is all about instilling belief in his offense and his defense. I think he's telling his offense, I think you can get this. And they have started to think we can get this. And I think he's telling his defense, if we don't get it, I think you're going to get the stop. But I don't think you can judge him alone on what it means in that moment of time. I think one of the reasons I should say, that the culture has changed and that the Lions' DNA has changed is because of Dan Campbell's way of coaching. And that doesn't mean he's always going to go for it. I'd always endorse it. There's still season to be played. There are still big moments where he's in the process of building them up and instilling belief. If that were a Super Bowl, I'm not, because there is no next game after that. There's no more other big game that you're preparing for. It's the biggest game. I think he might have kicked the field goal there. But there are still big games to be played, and there are still going to be fourth downs that they need to convert. I also think there was a little bit of calling the, I don't think the Packers expected them to go for it. I think the Packers, a little bit of calling the bluff here, lined up, and I will bet money that deep down in the recesses of the brains of the 11 guys that were on the field for the Green Bay Packers, they had just stuffed the Lions on a 3rd and 1, and earlier in the second half, they stuffed the Lions on that 4th and 1. I'll bet deep down if each one of those 11 guys that was on the field asks themselves, did I actually expect them to snap the ball? Or was I more concerned with not jumping off sides, which is what I think a lot of people thought they were trying to do. I would bet that each Green Bay Packer, when asked, did you fire off the ball with the same intensity that you did on the previous play and the 4th and 1 earlier in the second half? I don't think you get 11 for 11 saying yes. I think that was the checkers to chess moment where, this doesn't make sense. He's trying to get us jump off sides. We're not going to do it. Holy crap, he ran the play. Because not only did they make it, it looked easy. The Lions had many short yardage situations and many runs where they didn't get much. Green Bay's run defense is legit. And the Lions had run right on 3rd and 1, didn't get it. They ran right on 4th and 1 and didn't get it. And they ran right there. And it was relatively easy. But here's the other thing that Dan Campbell did in that moment. This team has strengths and weaknesses, especially with the roster and the team that they put on the field last night. You know what Dan Campbell did? My best unit is my offense. I'm going to win this game with my offense. I'm going to put it in the hands of my best unit. And this goes back to, putting the basketball in the hands of the best player in the last play of the game. Or putting your top power play unit out there.
Oh, the golden bat rule with Major League Baseball, Doug.
Right.
Putting your best hitter up there with the game on the line.
Right. So he has one incredibly strong offense. I mean, right now, statistically, The best in the NFL. And he's got a defense that's taped together. It's a skeleton crew that does an incredible job with what they're putting out there. And credit Aaron Glenn. And you could still win it with the defense and special teams. But the best thing he puts on the field is his offense. And he said, I'm winning it with my offense. Now, I always say it's part of the Dan Campbell experience. It's a fascinating analysis of since Dan Campbell took over the Detroit Lions. According to Fox, the Lions have gone for it on fourth down 140 times since Dan Campbell took over. That's the most in the NFL over that period of time. As one might expect, the conversions, 77, most in the NFL in that time. When you're in the opposing team's red zone, well in field goal range, Dan Campbell's gone for it 39 times, most in the NFL. The number of fourth down touchdowns, they had 2 last night. When you go for it on fourth down and score a touchdown, the Lions under Dan Campbell have done that 17 times, most in the NFL. But here is, I think, the most telling stat, how Dan Campbell thinks. Because you know who usually goes for it the most on fourth down? Teams that are trailing. When you have to go for it. Teams that are losing in the second half of games, down 2 scores, down 1 score, down 3 points late. Those teams get forced to go for it on third down. When you're losing, you're more likely to go for it on fourth down than when you're winning. And this is the most telling thing about Dan Campbell. Since he has taken over the Detroit Lions, fourth down attempts with the lead. The Lions have gone for it with the lead under Dan Campbell 61 times, the most in the NFL. He is a kill shot kind of coach. He is trying to finish you off. And you know what? I kind of feel like saying, if you don't like it, that's fine. But you better get used to it.
Yeah, you better get used to it. But even last night was a kind of a shocker to those. And I feel like I am used to it, Doug. I know what Dan Campbell is trying to do, what he's done since he got here. You talk about the belief that he installs in his defense and offense and whoever is out there. Hey, I believe in you to get the first down, and I believe in you guys to stop them if we don't.
Yep.
That started as soon as he walked through the door at Allen Park. He's been doing this. You read it off all the numbers. He's been doing this from the very beginning. So that belief started a long time ago. So now it's just a part of their DNA, and that's who they are. And you also mentioned everyone wants the perfect plan, right? The perfect ending, all this stuff. He's going for the perfect ending. You know what the perfect ending is? There is no time left on the clock, and we decide whether we win, lose, or draw this game. We will decide it. You will not get the ball back. He's trying to do the most perfect thing you can possibly do, and that's why he went for it last night, because we're ending this thing no matter what. You're right?
Yep.
No time left.
Yep.
That's who they are, man. And it's I think it's absolutely debatable, because I know there's a lot of fans that don't agree with the decision, even though the outcome worked out.
Well, I think that in the big picture, they're better because of these decisions. Not because they make it all the time, but because the way it's changed the culture and the way it's programmed the players to think. I actually think because he does what he does, it brings out the best in them.